you only have so much energy. And I think it's kind of honoring what you can bring to this world, like nurture it, water it, and share it.
Any other thoughts you want to share on that?
Yeah, just not to fritter away your life force energy.
Wow. I am so excited and also calmly, like, hopeful and heart-centered to introduce you to Susan Voelz. She is an incredible recording artist who has traversed many different, let's say, paths, lanes, alleys, streets in the music business over a few decades, from going to music school at IU Bloomington, where she discovered, man, I'm really good at classical music, but I think there's more here. She will talk about what it's like to be a woman in the music business. She will talk about what it's like to tour, and she will inspire you to make adjustments in your own life so that life force energy, also known as purpose, also known as vocation, also known as your calling, has more of a chance to express itself. And just in case those of you who are listening are like, this sounds a little oogie oogie, which is exactly what Susan calls herself out as being, she provides some incredibly practical tips at how to get there. Listen to this remarkable interview with an incredible artist who you've probably heard with Poi Dog Pondering, an incredible band, but so many other places too. What a woman. Enjoy. Do you think you can know someone like their whole person pretty quickly?
I have a friend that says in the first like 5 minutes, you will get a true reading on somebody. And then after that, their behavior, their comedy chops, their whatever, it starts filling in. But the hit you get is like that kind of radar,
Yeah.
perhaps, and to trust it.
Yeah. Do you feel that that's a strength of yours?
No, I don't. I should do that more than I do. Hold on.
You should do what more than you do?
You just trust my gut on that first hit.
Yeah.
I'm often influenced by, someone seems really powerful or someone seems really important, and it's like really necessary in, the music business, and I'm sure many other businesses, to who's the human behind all this,
Totally.
and to read that, to be able to respond to that.
Well, it sounds too, Susan, like it's just such a profoundly human thing because of course we're supposed to like stick together to survive. So like that first 5 minutes where you're like, this person's kind of an asshole. I feel like it's very
Warning.
quickly
Okay.
overridden by like, but I need to be safe. So let me make sure they like me,
Oh my gosh, that
right?
too.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's always in process of I was gonna say trust, but it's more than that. Like believe that impulse, believe that wisdom, believe that. Just because you often go like, it's fine. And I mean, women are taught that, right? Like if it feels funky, just know that it could be and respond to that.
Right.
So,
I feel like the message I got around that was like, if it feels funky, it's probably a you problem. So do something new for
ah,
you and change your whole self to do the.
oh my
Did you
gosh.
get that too in the world that you
Yeah.
became a woman in? Yeah.
Yeah, but I had a here, I had a childhood that cast a long shadow, as they say.
Great. Let's hear about
No,
it.
no, no, that's fine. But so I really, where I always thought I was not right. So I just,
My smile vanished. Yeah.
but there are ways that we make it through that are amazing. I mean, I lived in a maple tree. I lived in the water. That's where I felt safe. That's where I
Mm.
felt uh, peaceful,
Yeah.
and I could just be.
Yeah.
Classical music was all about playing perfectly. Improvising and playing in a rock band was like, well, who are you? What's your experience? What is your, whatever it is, like it's you coming out. I want to hear you, not the perfection of the piece. And that is when it's like I use music as a language. And there's an Annie DeFranco quote that I'm going to say wrong, but essentially she wrote herself into existence. I feel like I played myself into existence.
Mm.
I wasn't quite sure who I was or what. I just felt essentially wrong most of the time. But when I was playing and there's a musical conversation going on, I felt fearless.
Mhm. Mhm. I love that it's a maple tree.
Yeah, they're good. They're powerful.
Okay.
And she's old. She's old now. We're trying to keep her alive. Yeah, but she's still there. My niece is getting married under her, like in the fall. So that's just as
Oh my
beautiful. I
gosh.
love it. Anyway,
Does she have a name and like how many words of yours has she received or music has she received of yours over the years?
so I grew up around that tree. I mean, from when I was, I don't know, 8.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to her. I talked to her when my mom was passing. I don't know what it'll become, but a conversation with the maple tree in times of war time, in whatever. That's a piece I have written.
Mm.
Yes, I have conversations, but essentially she says, it's you. It's not me. It's you who's talking. It's you who's thinking. So I don't know. This is getting very far afield, but maybe.
Is it? We don't know. Okay, so are you showing up today feeling like there's something you want to say? I have a lot of questions for you, but is there something that feels particularly noting that it's spring 2024 for those of you listening in the canon
Mm.
decades from now?
Yeah.
But yeah, is there anything on your heart that feels,
You're awesome.
oh, well, thanks. So are you. Are you kidding me? I could fangirl right now, but I'm trying to myself.
No, you're just I love you as a human right now. Thank you for
Oh.
asking that. That's why I like your podcast so much, because it's so nourishing, because these are the kind of questions you ask. I think what's on my heart right now, let's see if I can get to it.
Take your time.
Because of the childhood I had, and then the person I first started playing music with, um, was murdered. That was when I was 24. So it's a long time ago. And my life, so I had started saying how music was a way to, has a conversation, it's a language for me. But it became a question of
Mm.
also, like, as an artist, what is this life force energy? And if it's all frequency, then is there not frequency in the natural world that we just don't hear it as language, but it's nonetheless still there?
Mm.
So that's even
Mm.
farther afield, but that's my question, like, what is it to be alive, and what is our purpose? I'm always, I mean, it sounds heavy, and I'm not, today I'm taking my dog to the vet, but like, what 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 is my purpose? How can I give what I have been given? This, kind of a rough road at times, and now I'm very grateful for my life. What do I bring next? What do I create next? Where is music useful right now in spring of 2024?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's to inspire and to uplift and to inform. Am I doing that?
I hear a sense of responsibility as a creator and as a musician. And I get this a lot too, like, it's pretty deep, Emily. And it's like, so,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm also laughing. Can't I be deep and laugh and have, right? You could be multitudes.
Well, and that's what Poi was such a beautiful, like, I don't know what to call it. I think I called music a chariot one time, but music,
Mm.
it's like this musical chariot, but it's like, it's both the music, the topics are really stuff everyone has lived through, but there's a buoyancy like the gospel tent in New Orleans, I hope. There's a buoyancy, like we've gotten through it and we're together on this. And so it's not just lollipops and I don't know, but it's had to do with topics of importance, and that you could feel not alone with that, and not only not alone, but buoyed by other people, other of us having lived that.
Yeah, my clinical training was with young people, and specifically, there was one client who's 13, and they don't wanna sit and talk to you. Come on, as a therapist, like, what are we gonna do? Sit across from each other and have a conversation? How lame is that? And it's my experience, Susan, like, the music that so we started listening to music together.
Oh, nice.
And so I wonder if there's sort of a universal language, right? And I think about this a lot. And, like, get plugged in however you want, but, like, get plugged in. Music is a way.
Yeah.
Drawing is a way. Anime, I'm thinking about my stepkiddo, like video games, whatever it is, just get plugged into these questions that you're asking, which is like, what is my responsibility? How will I continue to use this gift that I have? Oh, and by the way, I have to take my dog to the vet today. Like it's
Yeah,
both.
yeah, it's everything. Yeah,
Both, you
yeah.
know? I'm wondering too, I know you picked up a violin when you were 9.
It's that one right there.
Oh my gosh. And why the violin?
Literally because it was just in the attic and they offered it at school. And, I had no affinity for it. I was playing piano, violin came down. I'm like, okay. I think I liked how it smelled and it was wooden. I liked the feel of it. And then I wound up being good at it. I don't know why. I just was good at it.
When you say you were good at it, are we talking like the classical good? Like I can play Mozart perfectly?
Oh yeah, we are not, yeah.
Yeah.
But back then it was, oh my God, that's interesting. I could play perfectly. It was absolutely not connected to me though. Absolutely not connected. But then people thought I was good at it, so you keep at it. But then in college, I wound up double major with an English degree, because what's English doing? It's talking about philosophy and life and things you encounter and what to do about that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I switched to improvising. Go ahead.
No, no, no. I'm relating. I picked up flute when I was 6 and played until I was 18 and traveled but I was
Wow.
really good and it never came below the head for me. But it did for you. How did you take care of yourself as it went from head to heart for you? Because it sounds like, is it fair to say that you're an outlier in your family with being creative in this way? But you also had Christmas band, so I don't know. Maybe you weren't.
So that's everything holds its opposite kind of statement. My dad was a bass player, in jazz bass player. When after that he passed, I still have his bass. I can't give it's like a really good part of him that I wanted to hang on to. Someone needs to play it. But so he was a musician. My mom played piano and she wanted to sing in his band, but they were always worried about money and raising a family. And so he, went back to school, became a doctor. And so, but no, they encouraged me in music, but then they didn't want me to be a musician. And it was all about perfection. So there was not much, it was a little confusing.
Mhm.
However, then when for some reason, I wound up at music school at Indiana, at Bloomington, the celebrated music school there. And I was walking down the hallway, and the IU Soul Review was looking for string players to record something. And I must have had my violin on my back. And they said, "Oh, do you want to record?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I want to record." And it was the most fun. Oh my God, I've never seen people enjoy music so much. We hit the end of this I don't know, just beautiful song. And it just kept repeating and repeating, repeating. I looked in the control room and people had their hands up and were just so, just dancing. I thought, this is how you play music.
I love that.
So it started cracking open. And then I started seeing, other players. There was Scarlett Rivera playing with Dylan then. There was a band, David LaFlamme, and It's a Beautiful Day. And so I started playing with records. I thought, well, this is cool. And then I met someone who wanted me to play with him in his band or as a duo. And I just explored. That was just like anything you want to do.
Mm.
So it was I mean, I'm sure like I overplayed like crazy, but I was free to respond to what I was hearing. And that was when it cracked open. Then I went back to my teacher in music school and I was like sliding into notes like playing the Bach double and he was like, "No, no, no. This is how it's ruining your playing." But it doesn't. It brought me into my playing now.
It feels like a very juicy time for you. Like a juicy, like pleasurable. It sounds like what an audacious thing as a young woman in university, right? Who is supposed has this like perfect, you said it's the two sides of our lives. Like be perfect, but also like, ooh, this feels good. And it sounds like when I asked the question, like, how did you take care of your heart as it was opening up? I'm assuming that was an imperfect process, taking care of yourself through that.
I think it was a long process, actually, because that process. I just like I was open to everything. I think that's just through time over the next 10, 12 years, maybe like way open to everything. But I fell in love with that person, and so I felt. And he was 10 years older than me, and I was just like, oh my God, I want to learn from you. So I want to learn about life and music and traveling and books and movies that are coming to. I was just like my whole psyche mind opened up to like a bigger world that is there, but I was starting to live it. So, and how did I take care of my heart? Well, I got into therapy,
I've heard of
which
it.
was very good. Very,
Yeah.
very good. And that was really good for me. Really, really good. You start asking yourself questions about how you live and how you react and what, maybe why. Anyway, so that's what I did. And I ran. I love to run, and I used to do Tai Chi. I forgot it when that person was killed. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna relearn it. I'm gonna go back.
Did that person introduce you to Tai Chi?
No,
Oh,
mm-mm.
okay.
But he introduced me to like massage, and I was massage. I mean, I was so young, I thought, oh, that means, house of ill repute, massages and massage. But it was, and about eating vegetarian and being kinder to people. And are you saying what you really, is that a true thought, or are you just repeating what someone said? So I really grew up in those years.
I know you to be, what do we say? A Renaissance woman. Okay. But, a producer. What are some other identifiers that before I do it that you would list off?
Musician, composer, poet. Uh, uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, well, I'm the president of the Chicago chapter of the Recording Academy, so
Yeah.
that's a very important project to me.
With composing and maybe as a poet, right? So there's playing music and then there's writing. Um, how did those two start to come together? In this, here's what I imagine, Susan. You go to school and you're doing really well, and by all the like obvious markers, and then your heart starts opening and you really, begin to have this like heartfelt connection with this craft. And you're also maybe trying different ways to connect with it, include writing and composing. So, what was that process like to be a musician and then be other things related to music?
It seemed like it was always there. It was just an uncovering. Um, so I was playing classical music and suddenly I realized like, oh, I know how to invent melodies to go between his lyrics, let's say, or how to support those lyrics. And then it's like, well, wait a minute. I wrote a lot. And so I'm just writing in journals. Poems were there. Instead of lyrics were there. But then I guess my mind is going to like years later. I wound up in New Orleans when I got what we used is called an X15 Fostex 4-track recorder. And then I could record violin or keyboard and then say words over it. And I spent a lot of time doing that. I really, I mean, I love recording and I love layering sounds. And then what does that trigger and what does that trigger?
Mm,
So that's, I love that. That's
yeah.
that's how I think that's when I started really writing, and then just decided because of that, well, I'll think I should make a record. So then you do that and you get your friends to play and it's fun, and then, well, that went pretty well. I think I'll do that again.
Mm.
So
And what were some practical things going on in your life akin to I have to take my dog to the vet?
I had to work a day job. In New Orleans, I thought, well, if I'm going to be a legal secretary, I mean, a secretary, then work at a legal, because you earn more money. And I had a great boss who let me do things that probably are illegal because I did not have any legal training. But he thought I was smart. He was great. Raider Jackson. And then I came to Austin and I said, well, I'm only going to work half days. Forget this, I used to say, you give yourself all your good energy goes to your day job, and then it spits you out, and then you have night to create. And so eventually I wound up in joining Poi. And so then I was able to let go of those jobs. And then I came to Chicago and I realized someone said, what are the 5 things you can do to earn money? So you're not working at a sandwich shop. Like, don't give your energy away. Don't give your artistic self away to that. So you may need to at some time, but can you transform out of that? So, what are the 5 things? And I could teach and I could arrange strings, I could record, I could perform. And there was probably another one because there were 5. And I always kind of held to that. Maybe the other one was just like save whatever money you have, so you're always 3 months ahead. I mean, this was the practicality of it,
Yeah.
for sure.
I know I'm like taking notes here on
Yeah.
the side, right? Like because I think I don't know how true this is anymore, but I think that our listeners, a lot of them are well, they're all over the place now, but sort of identify as leaders in their profession, right? And maybe preferring the practical over the whatever the other option is, the rest of life. And I think it's in large part because it's comfortable. There's a sort of a prescription to follow, but there is a mystery in this pursuit of what you were this life force energy. Like, what? Am I entitled to that? Can I do that? And I think what you're really doing beautifully is overlaying the practical on top of, right? It's both.
Mhm.
It's both.
It is both. It is both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts you want to share on that? The both of it?
Yeah, just not to fritter away your life force energy.
Yeah.
You don't want to give it away to working at a sandwich shop unless it's your own sandwich shop and that's what you love, or that's what you absolutely must do. You only have so much energy, and I think it's kind of honoring what you can bring to this world, like nurture it,
Mm-hmm.
water it,
Mm-hmm.
and share it. And if you're too tired or too busy or too, I am amazed that I didn't I do not know how I made the transition from being a legal secretary into actually being a full-time musician. I mean, I don't think I'm that bold
Mm.
at heart, but I think I wanted to live so much, and I wanted to live at that time, like through this musical exchange and see the
Mm.
world. I knew that all went
Yeah.
together. Um, so yeah.
And that was enough.
I didn't have a guard. It was enough, but you give up. Like, now after my folks both got ill and I helped them pass, like I'm off. I'm not on the road. I will be in the fall, but for a long time now, I've been just short tours. And then a lot of studio recording. But this is the first time I've, in these, 8, 10 years that I have a dog. I now have a garden. I'm planting my vegetable garden. It makes me so excited. Like and you can't keep plants alive or an animal alive if you're on tour. So now I have another kind of balance because I want to still travel, but I like being home too.
I'm currently obsessed with a book called Real Self-Care, and the subhead, I'm looking at it here, crystals, cleanses, and bubble baths not included. Which, all of those things are great. But what you're talking about, Susan, is like the step one that Dr. Pooja Lakshman talks about is having boundaries. In other words, managing your energy.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think for so long in my life, it was time. We were managing time. You can't manage time. Time just like happens, It's like, good
Yeah.
luck. It's 24 hours every day. But the energy piece and being so attuned to that and then having to say no to things as a result is something that a lot of people that listen to this podcast and a lot of people in the world really struggle with.
It's almost like an intention. If I need space for myself and I do not want a lot of work to come in, I'll find myself with a lot of space. I know I need to hold it. If it comes in, I'm going to have to turn stuff down. I don't like to say no. I'm going to keep this time for the month of, June. And sure enough, a really interesting something comes in. And I go, well, that I want to do. I have another friend that says, like, listen with your whole body. Like, I got interested in Ayurveda, and so I've been doing yoga nidra for quite a while. And I'll just know in the day, like, I need to do a yoga nidra right now. And it just resets my energy. That is the best self-care that I would recommend.
Yeah.
I'm just using the Insight Timer app and find one you like, and it's powerful.
How would you describe yoga nidra to the listener?
Ah,
For those who haven't heard it, just your own words.
a massage on the inside.
And with that, this is over. And now I got to go do that. That sounds incredible. What a great way to put it. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something you have to do. It's like, relax into the trustworthy stability of the riverbed, and you
Yes.
breathe and you listen and you imagine, and suddenly all the tension that we store in our muscles and mind, it just goes away.
Emily's conversation with Susan Voelz continues after a short break.
Susan would like to spotlight Music Cares. It's an organization that provides wraparound support services for artists and the music community. It's a safety net for the human beings who make the music that all of us get to enjoy.
Music Cares, if your tour ends, contact them and they will pay your most necessary bills. They'll pay your rent, they'll pay your electric bill. If someone dies, they'll pay funeral expenses. And they also then have prevention. They have safe spaces on tours backstage. They have hearing clinics. To get molded earplugs to prevent hearing loss. So Music Cares is like super, super important.
Music Cares provides financial assistance during medical crises and offers preventative services, including cancer screenings and dental care. Explore all they do and support their work by visiting musiccares.org. What will it be like touring in your next season of touring? And what was it like touring? I know you wrote a book about it, essentially, right? Helping people navigate all the things that none of us think about, right? We only think about those of us who are, sort of in a different profession. It's like, oh, what we see in movies. It's all fun. It's great. It's partying.
Right.
So what would you, the looking ahead and then the looking back of it with touring?
I hope to update that book. That book I wrote right, in 2006 and 7, maybe. So a lot has changed, but a lot is the same. We're still humans on the road. but maybe how you prepare is a little bit different. I was talking to Kim Deal once, and she was like, "I was so lonely on the road back then, like in the 90s." And I'm like, "Oh my God, we didn't have cell phones. We couldn't stay in touch." And she was the only woman on the road. I was, we didn't know each other then. So things are different. So I hope to update that book, but still the self-care, the things that you encounter, and how do you take care of yourself? How do you react? Whatever happens on stage, all is well. You can't freak out. Even if, all the electricity goes out, which has happened. I remember Poi was playing at Metro in Chicago one time, all the electricity's out. There's a full show of people, and everybody's wandering about what to do. And we just decided to play acoustic on the floor of the audience. And it was awesome.
I wish I had been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring it.
Bring it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you say, so that's a good example. All the electricity goes out. What else are a couple like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening?
Oh my God, we were driving. Poi was in a Sprinter van one time, and the back we were driving. We were like on the West Coast, going from, I don't know, somewhere to somewhere, and like literally we heard a thump, and those of us in the back went, "Oh my God, there's a tire going by us," and it's like,
No.
"Oh my God, that's our tire." So we had to get over to the side of the road, and no problem. And then we put out our suitcases to protect, down to protect us, right? Some sort of cones. We had suitcases out. And then some Poi Dog fans had come from where we were, and they were coming down to the show in San Francisco, and they picked a lot of us up and took us to the show.
Oh, I love that.
So that was a good one.
I know that would have been on Instagram if Instagram was a thing at the
Oh my
time.
gosh,
I
yeah.
know it would have been. You guys would have gone viral for
Oh my
sure.
God. Someone for sure would have caught the tire bouncing by the window. Oh my
So that
gosh.
actually, let's round the bend with talking about your role with the Recording Academy. But as it relates to like issues supporting artists, right? So now we're going to talk a little bit of practical, I guess, right? We're talking about head, heart, body. Let's talk about like the movement, the system, right?
Exactly.
Of music.
That's right.
How do you survive the business of this art?
The Recording Academy, I realize, is a system. It's a system that you can join, so you're not so much on your own. And it's been going for a while and does a lot of partnerships. It's not just isolated. It has programs for Grammy U, kids that are younger. And we have producers and engineer wing, where we just had Jeff Tweedy and Cheryl Pawlowski talk. It was like we were all at camp. No one wanted to leave. We just wanted to talk and hang out with each other, like this good camaraderie. It was just like nourishing to get together. There was an event with Common and Lupe Fiasco like in the last month, and just talking about, essentially how to live in the music industry and some of their stories, just to elevate and celebrate just really good artistry and people who are bringing it into the world.
Wow. As you were talking, I was also, of course, struck by your movement while you were talking about it. Like, it's just very clear. Let me go back to kind of like, what is the responsibility I have, like with this life force energy, right? Which is what's on your heart today. I think it's at the Recording Academy, based on how I'm watching you. You're like, whoa, I just like in part anyway, you've got a lot of energy to give, but it seems like the cultivation of talent, the thinking about the practicalities of what it means to commit your life to music, how radical it still is. Is it still radical, do you think?
Radical to
Be a musician.
Well, we've certainly. Is it radical to be a musician? Well, you're not going to make your parents happy if they want you to be like to support yourself well. And I don't know if I could do it if I were starting out now. I mean, we lived in inexpensive housing, no problem. I didn't care if I was poor. If I didn't need I didn't want the necessities. I just wanted the luxuries, meaning I wanted just a few nice things now and then. But my goal was that I was getting to play, I was getting to see the world. I think music was such a central part in me coming from that childhood that cast a long shadow. It was I'll say it again, the chariot. I was in this chariot that just made it through. and I want to, and I want, if I want to, and then, everyone's got a different need and different story and different life that they've lived, but within this umbrella organization of the Recording Academy, it's like we are able to like tap into one Grammy U student who asked for, well, what literally, how are these lyrics? Or what do you think of my poem? Or what book should I read to help me in navigating publishing or whatever it might be? So I think it's practical, and it's also just emotional, like uplifting.
Yeah. Going back just briefly to desire and pleasure and opening your heart and being a woman, and all these conversations that we have about like the right way to do things, the wrong way to do things, the like, everybody wants the prescription. I think what music for me, and growing up listening to XRT and having a father whose speakers would like vibrate the window panes, and like my mom was just like he just Carlos Santana, Jeff Beck, like this is who I grew up with.
Oh,
It is emotional, and by default, that's just something our culture is like, it's a little skittish around. So I think when a kid who comes to you with a practical question, it's like, it's a very emotional thing. And that's the part that I think I look at you and I witness someone who's like open to that conversation versus like, wow, how you're gonna pay your rent, which also has to be thought about,
yeah, yeah. When you tap into your emotion and it comes down my arm and I play, that is my life force experience coming out.
I think one of your gifts is, I want to say, offering motivation, offering away. Yeah, offering away
Oh, good.
from the long shadow to sort of like
That's awesome to say.
the tenacity, but also the ability that you can, and that it's hard, right? It's just hard. What are you going to do? Well, you're going to do it together, hopefully. And the Recording Academy being a great place for people to find community.
That's right. That's right.
Maybe get their rent paid. Yeah, that's so important. I need to ask you one more question, which is just, what did you listen to today? Have you been listening to anything other than the sound of your breath as you're practicing yoga nidra?
I woke up at 4 in the morning because the birds are so loud. Oh my God.
Loud.
But I don't mind it at all. It's like just such
Yeah.
a pleasure. It's like they own Chicago at 4 in the morning.
Totally. Yes, they do. My mom laments them daily. Okay, so you listen to the birds. Yes, good.
I'm listening to I did a lot of work and have done a lot of work at Steve Albini's studio. And in honor of his passing, I've been listening to a lot of the artists that he has recorded. And I've been listening to, I just started listening to Nina Nasasia, and her stuff is crazy beautiful.
Right.
You think of, noise and loud and grunge and guitars, but that studio, and he had an ear for what was just true. Like her record that I listened to was guitar and vocals and words, but it was as rock and it's not punk, but it's just sword. It's a sword with, it wasn't loud, it wasn't bombastic, it was just like so incredibly direct, like nothing wasted, to the bone.
I can't wait to listen.
So yeah, that's the most recent thing I've listened to.
I mean, like swords, chariots. Now we can all take on the world after listening to this episode. Da-da!
Ta-da! Ta-da!
Susan Voelz, you captured my heart. And what a great close to season 4 of Who's Missing. Though I will say, our podcast is timeless. You can listen to this one anytime. That's part of the goal. Links to all of Susan's artistic works are at who'smissingpodcast.com. And that includes her leadership story as president of the Recording Academy's Chicago chapter. Share this episode, would ya? I feel like when you make the courageous choice to pursue your truth, become a musician, become an artist, become whatever it is, you need community, because it's not easy. It just isn't. So share this with someone who could use the support, who could use what we like to call a massage from the inside. Thanks for listening.
Tell me who's missing.
And I can't wait for your album.
It's called The Arrival of the Ancestors. And when I inherited my childhood piano, my folks were up in Wisconsin, and I moved it down to Chicago and brought it up to my third floor apartment. I started playing what sounded like church hymns, like gospel church hymns, or, you know, Steeple on a Hill in Appalachia hymns. And I went, why in the world would I write this? You know, it's not classical. It's not Bloody Valentine. Why would I? And this is the next record, and this is the next wave of my creativity, to allow something that seems absurd, or really, I could judge it, just let it come in. Because I looked at the ceiling and said, okay, I thought, is this my DNA or is this ghosts? And I thought, okay, if you have a song you'd like me to hear, send it. I mean, is it frequency coming from somewhere else? Is it just my total imagination? Don't know. But it is the opposite of writing a hit song.
Right.
But it is the center of being human, right?
So